Isn't your average money podcast, hosted by Billy Peterson, a former jockey turned financial advisor. It's about more than dollars and cents. Each episode dives into the stories, struggles, and successes that define what real wealth looks like. From bold entrepreneurs to everyday dreamers who've learned that true success isn't just earned, it's lived.
Hey, welcome back. This is Billy Peterson with Harnessing Your Wealth. We have Cade Peterson here to my right, and to my left, we have none other than Wyatt Didericksen, who is the general manager of Wyoming Downs Racetrack. And Wyoming Downs is now becoming a hotbed here in the Intermountain area. They were going strong here, I don't know, a couple decades ago, and then kind of fell apart. You know, change of ownership a couple times, and now they've got Wyatt involved, and things are really starting to look good again and booming, actually, here in this neighboring state of Wyoming. I think it'll be a fun conversation to talk to Wyatt about what he's doing right now, what he's seeing in the industry, and then where this industry is going. So, Wyatt, I want to go back in time. You came from a very prominent family, you know, with your grandfather, Dwayne, who was essentially a big key up there in Idaho. Wasn't he an owner of LeBois Park at one point?
At one point in time.
And ran that track, was big in the racing scene up in Idaho. And also your dad, who is probably the most well-known, at least right now. You're rapidly going to overtake him in this department. But your dad, Kip, was Hall of Fame jockey in his career, very well-known, prominent guy. I had the opportunity to ride with him and get to know him quite well. He's actually been on our show, so learned a lot more even about him then. But what was it like growing up in the family that had such a racing background and so well known for their contributions?
Yeah, growing up in my family, I guess we actually had a mule instead of a horse most of my life. Her name was Lulabelle, and Dad is on the show. He didn't talk about it much, but he's an avid hunter, so I really, from my dad, I didn't spend much time around the races at all, because once he retired, he went into other ventures, and our big thing's hunting. But every weekend I got dropped off at Grandma and Grandpa's house. So Friday night, Grandpa would have boxing on, and then we'd wake up early, and I'd go to LeBois Park every Saturday morning with Grandpa. So growing up on the backside, not as like a owner or trainer kid walking around, but seeing how Grandpa ran the racetrack, that's how I got my taste for horse racing, was just constantly being at LeBois Park every Saturday morning in the race office and watching him interact. And then comes race days, and, you know, seeing him give high fives to all of his trainer buddies and interactions. And I always remember, I thought John Wayne was a real cowboy as a kid. I didn't, you know, maybe he is, but when I found out that John Wayne was just an actor, I was really upset, because I was like, Grandpa's a real cowboy. He should be this guy. So I always grew up idolizing Grandpa and wanting to be not so much a cowboy, but follow his steps. And so through life, I knew that I wanted to run a racetrack, because I wanted to be like Grandpa, because Dad's the hunter. But
that's all he cares about now, right? Just hunting, bagging big bucks, and
just hunting, chucker hunting. We mostly bird hunt. Now I've caught up to. For a while, I couldn't shoot as many birds as him, but I finally. He says he's 60, but I finally caught up to the guy and can shoot the same amount of birds as him. So,
he was always into that. I remember just the stories are very colorful in what he did, and he loves to talk about hunting. Your dad.
Yeah.
But Dwayne is very well known at all the AQHA meetings, American Quarter Horse Association, and he's served in pretty much every committee and the president of every committee. But he is well liked, and I'm sure that that's what you patterned a lot of your personality after, just how you get along with people and interact, because you have to know everybody and get along with everybody in what you're doing, right?
You do. Yeah, and if I can be half of what I view him as, I think I'll have a successful career. Yeah. I've got a lot more to learn, but, you know, having him as a phone call away for advice is extremely helpful. I call him almost daily to ask him questions about what he did and how do you handle this, and, you know, having someone you can put that confidence into goes a long ways in this business.
You're pretty young, relatively speaking, to be a general manager. Now, I understand years ago, my younger brother, you may recall Brody Johnson, who is no longer with us, but he was also general manager at Wyoming Downs. And that was back when it was just kind of getting itself established. And this was after I had left this area and I was out pursuing my riding career in other states. But he became general manager at a pretty young age. And I remember he was running from one end to the other, going nonstop 7 days a week. And there's a lot that goes into it. And I didn't even realize it until starting to visit with him. But this maybe give us a kind of a day-to-day for all the things you have to deal with.
That's a good question. It starts early. You got to get there. And the biggest thing from when I took over for Frank Lamb was you don't have to wear yourself thin. You just got to identify who on your team, what they know and what they don't know, and, you know, basically build from there. So in this year that I've no longer had Frank to lean on, we've identified who our best employees are. And that way I just check with my head of maintenance, my director of operations, mutual manager, and they know their end of the business so well that I can kind of just check with them, give them a general direction of what the track wants to see. And so far, you know, we've been able to execute that at a very high level. There's still a lot more things we want to do out there, but it's all just about personnel and having guys that are in love with the sport as much as we are, that are doing it for the love of the game.
For sure. You talked about Dwayne a little bit and your dad. What would you say is a big lesson that they've taught you about how to treat horsemen or how to, you know, run your business the right way?
Yeah, the thing that they always said is horsemen trainers, their business is their shed row. So they're going to bring you complaints, ideas that maybe don't fit the entire barn area, but it darn sure makes sense for their barn. And you have to understand that it's not personal. They're not telling you that you're an idiot, that you're wrong. Because ultimately my job is to make sure that all decisions benefit everyone's, you know, the small guys with 3 horses to the guys like Joe Davis that has more horses than we can give him stalls. It needs to be beneficial for everyone back there. And, you know, you'll get complaints that aren't valid, but then you'll get ones that are. And, you know, but you got to treat them all the same. Sometimes you'll get complaints about something so minor. It's like, we don't really have time to get to that, nor is it, they might have caused it themselves.
Yeah.
But it's just being nice to them. And a lot of times they don't even, maybe those complaints that aren't valid in the racetrack operator's mind, they just need someone to vent to. And so letting people have a place to know that the management of Wyoming Downs is willing to listen to them, and we're not going to tell you to shut up and get out.
For sure. Yeah, I would say horse racing is like super difficult for people. It's hard for owners to to win. It's a really difficult industry, and being a part of it every single day, what motivates you to continue to push forward and make it work?
What the biggest motivator for me is, you know, Billy and my dad, they had the opportunity to ride. Were you able to ride 4 days a week? Were you ever on the 6th day a week?
So at Sunland, I was 4 days a week, but I was traveling to different tracks. So when I got to California, it was 5 or sometimes 6, depending on what's going on at different tracks. Yeah, and
so I'm not wrong, the biggest motivator is I want racing to get back to where you can make a living at the racetrack. 'Cause racing got so overwhelmed and tracks dying to where 2 days a week it had become a norm. And 2 days a week is so hard for owners, trainers, riders to make a real living that Wyoming Downs, myself, we've taken that on as a challenge to, you know, I've said, you know, make racing great again. But that's just simply, we want people to have a livelihood. If I want my kids to have a career in racing, it can't be what it is. Currently, we're going better places, but it has to be volatile to owners, and, you know, it got to trickle down. So that's what motivates me is, this is a business, a sport that we love, and I don't want it to go away. Is I want racing to be available to generations. And I think we've all seen this too. You have really successful horsemen and their kids completely leave because they don't have faith that the industry will be able to support them and their families. And that's what we'd like to see is good racing that can support families. And
that's a challenge. I mean, because you have to get creative. You have to not only attract the attention of this younger generation, but then keep it. And that's been a challenge forever, pretty much, with the racing fan, the betting public, let's call them, is what are they doing between races? Because there's 35, 40 minutes, maybe, sometimes longer, between races. And if they're not familiar with the wagering aspect, where they're studying the past performances and thinking about their next wagers, they're just kind of bored because they want that instant, I need action right now. So, I mean, I think that's always been a challenge, and operators like yourself are trying to come up with some things to keep their attention, doing little side things for the kids in between races, or having an announcer that can keep them involved in, keep the time moving, so to speak.
Exactly.
It's not an easy prospect, but I know in Wyoming, and it was dying. Let's just say that years ago. And actually Wyoming Downs sat idle for many years. A lot of people never thought would never open again. But then along comes historical wagering. Can you explain to our listeners what that is and how that resurrected the industry up there?
Yeah. So when I graduated college, I worked for Eugene Joyce for the Horse Palace, Wyoming Horse Racing Group, and I was an assistant manager of a OTB. So off-track betting centers are where the HHR machines are, historical horse racing. They at one point they were called IR machines, which was instant racing. So what it is, it's a pari-mutuel wager that it looks and feels similar to a slot machine. However, it's not the same mathematical algorithms as what a slot machine does. It's based completely off of old horse races. And as you wager, it's depending on what model you're using. It's based on trying to get 3 trifectas simultaneously. Maybe it's a pick 5. And it's all those old races that go back 50, 60 years. It's at random. That's how it would decide you're winning. But just like we kind of talked about, racing struggles of that, our posts are 24 minutes if we can keep time. This, I can bet on 100 races as fast as I can, press play. So it's really revitalized our handle because now we are able to offer a different product to people that might not even have liked racing, but now they're supporting agricultural through these HHR machines. And Wyoming has flourished. We're the least populated state in the country with 500,000 in the last census, but we're able to, with these HHR OTB locations, have some of the best purse structures, and up and coming. There's not signs of hitting our plateau yet.
Yeah, it's just really starting to catch on. So, can you give us some numbers, like data wise? What has that done over the last 3 or 4 years for the purses?
Yeah, the purses, when I first got here, we had bottoms around $6,000 would be a bottom, which is still net. I don't think that's a horrible purse, especially coming from after LeBois Park closed. The fair race in Idaho, $6,000 was a decent purse. Still is for Idaho. But yeah, so now we're kind of in the 11,000, almost 12,000 bottoms up there at Wyoming Downs outside of trials. So, virtually, and I started in 2019. So over the last 7 years, we've almost doubled our purse money. And the stake schedules keep getting better. There's more added money.
Added money for the futurities, derby, stakes races.
Yeah.
So it incentivizes good horses. So how has that changed the profile of the horsemen and the horse people that are coming in to the state for the racing season?
Yeah, it's gotten a lot more attention to where when Wyoming Downs was really struggling, it was looked on more of a fair level caliber meet, and the purses equates to that. So now with 32 days of racing, $12,000 bottoms, people from all around the country have inquired about stalls and wanting to get in and wanting to become part of the Wyoming Bred program as well. So you see guys from Oklahoma, Texas that historically would have never come to Wyoming Downs, but they're seeing opportunities to kind of split the herd and get some of their, we don't still have their A strings, but we have a lot of B string horses from the Midwest that come out here and do their best to compete.
We've heard a lot of people talking about the Wyoming bred program, people from all over, you know, when we're at sales or races. Tell us a little bit about that and how it's so lucrative and attractive for people to be a part of.
Yeah, so there was $10 million in the Wyoming bred program last year available for reward, which equated to $471 per point. So every out, first through last, you get a point. First place, if there's 10 horse fields, you got 10 points. So what is that? You won an additional $4,700 to the pot, which that's a pretty good bonus if you got to run.
And it doesn't matter if it's a stakes or a maiden race.
All races. It encourages people to get Wyoming bred stock and breed and have a Wyoming bred, because now there's added money on top of these lucrative purses that you can have available to you. So even like the horses that run last place, you get an extra $471. Maybe that covers some of the feed that week.
Sure.
It just makes ownership of a racehorse a little less harsh on the pocketbook, because there's some bonus money coming in just for running your horse.
And actually, some of the most attractive type of bonus money in the country. When I say it, attractive, meaning it's pretty valuable when you look at the end of the year and they're showing you the points. And I know for experience, I had our very first Wyoming bred was running last year, and she had, what did she have? 5 outs up there, or 6 maybe, and she won 2 and ran 3/3.
Oh yeah,
and she's going to get $47,000 in bonus points. I mean, because I'm the breeder and the owner, and I'm thinking she made 3 times as much with the points as she did with the purses. And so I think that's why so many people are looking at that and going, I want in.
Exactly.
And they're, real estate is affecting everything up in Wyoming.
Yeah, especially in Uintah County where Wyoming Downs is, we have a lot of Wyoming sagebrush, but Uintah County has a lot of good pasture and places that you can keep a mare and nice pasture, and it looks like horse country.
As long as they can get through that harsh winter.
As long as you can get through winter, which can happen any day up there.
Yeah.
It's a good program. We're proud of it, obviously, as operators. And we do our best to make sure that horses can get outs, because just like we're saying, weather's the biggest issue for outs in Wyoming, 'cause there's only so many days you can run in our state without running into weather. Even, I was just telling Cade in the lobby, we had 6.5 inches of moisture yesterday. Most of it was snow, then a little bit of rain before and after. But
yeah, you're dang near ready to start your meet.
Yeah, So you never know.
Snow on the ground.
4 days ago it was 70 degrees.
Yeah,
so
that's wild. Yeah, Wyoming can be pretty volatile on the weather side.
You got to have a down jacket.
Yeah,
no matter what.
No doubt, for sure. When you go up there, I remember the days. With regard to talk about additional purse enhancement stuff, and I know you mentioned Eugene, and he was your first boss up there. And Eugene has told me that this new casino that his company put in, Horse Palace, is going to generate an additional $1 million for purses and probably another $1 million for the Wyoming bred points.
Oh yeah,
because of how lucrative that's been. I mean, it's packed. We go up there quite a bit to watch our horses. You can watch the simulcast from Remington Park or Los Alamitos or pretty much any other track that you want around the country. And so we like that, but it's packed. And so talk to us about how that's also adding to the purses, and maybe what Wyoming Downs ownership is doing in light of that opportunity.
Yeah, Eugene's Horse Palace Gateway is targeting Utah. It's a border site. They have one in Cheyenne, and Wyoming Downs, we're building one in Cheyenne, and we just got our permits passed we're building one in Evanston as well, a border site. But what we've seen from our competitor is, just like you're saying, the amount of volume that they're getting that Uintah County has not reached. It's not oversaturated yet. there's still a lot more market to draw in to Wyoming to play the HHR machines and also introduce them to horse racing with the simulcast that's inside those facilities as well. So just like Eugene, we believe the exact same thing. We could be adding another $1 million to both programs as well, to our purses and to the breeders. And
you're going to close Wendover down. Is that what you're trying to do?
If we could close Wendover down, we'd do it in a heartbeat.
I mean, that's typically their only clientele is the Utah resident.
Yeah, so you have Wendover on the west side of you, and now you've got Wyoming to the east, both bidding for you to come. We obviously don't have any table games, as that's illegal in the state of Wyoming, but the HHR machines and what Wyoming Downs, for what I've seen from the Evanston site, we're going to try and lean more into more TVs and bigger TVs, but probably similar size facility. Same thing, like steakhouse,
restaurant,
like Eugene's.
things like that.
Yeah, we won't have a Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, we don't need that. We need a good restaurant.
Yeah,
that'll be good.
We would like some bigger TVs.
Yeah.
To watch.
And
we like to go to watch
machines.
the races. So
yeah, that was sorry, Eugene, I know you listened to this, but that's the only thing that we saw too is, we want to have big TVs because just like Derby Day, you get people that don't care about horse racing watch Kentucky Derby.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be able to present that on the biggest stage possible because horses have a great connection to people. They always have throughout history.
Right.
And we don't want to forget where we come from and what these machines are allowing us to do. And it's, at the end of the day, it remains about the horses.
Right. Well, like you said, if we can get the interest and get more people there, he's going to need a lot more than the 6 or 8 seats that he has in front of his television screens right now. Because, I mean, it hasn't been a problem because most of the people up there, they don't know about it, and they're only there to gamble on the machines. But the people that are there to watch their horses or gamble on the horses, they have a small little alcove. So we're going to need to maybe make a bigger.
Much bigger.
Yeah, a bigger facility there. Now, what on these machines, so some people may take this and misread it or misunderstand it, but the machines up there look and feel just like a regular slot machine.
Yeah.
But they're not.
Correct.
And you already explained that a little bit, but you see that if you've been to Vegas, you've seen all these machines that, they have the ducks or the pigs or the whatever the theme is on the slot machine.
Yeah, or buffalo.
Yeah, buffalo big.
Buffalo wild chips.
They're running the buffalo. But anyway,
Wheel
it
of
looks just
Fortune.
like that. And you're basically thinking you're pulling the same kind of machine, but it's all based on historical horse racing outcomes that you have no idea what you're doing. But it was all kind of it's the way they got it through the legislation, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and the biggest difference, even though they look the same as in Nevada or other states, Atlantic City, you're playing against the house. Here in Wyoming, you're not playing against me. We're just like no different than the racetrack. We're just the operator providing something for you to wager on.
So how does the money come in?
We want you to win. Hopefully you nail every favorite on the board because we want you to keep playing.
Cool. Where's the money come from?
Where does the money come from? To the track?
Yeah, to the operator of the casino. How do they make money?
So just like racing, essentially we're a giant middleman. There's a percentage out of each dollar wagered that we hold for essentially operational costs. Yeah. We're providing this place for you to wager on a horse. Same thing on the machine. We take a small percentage out of each dollar wagered, and that's how we are able to stay in business, purse money, and have money into the Wyoming Bred program. And then there's another one too. We pay taxes. We pay a lot of money in taxes, which helps each county out a lot too, and helps keep taxes down on the residents because we pay our fair share in taxes.
I'm sure.
So, from the government standpoint, here's an operator going to come in. They're going to do all the work. All you got to do is give them an approval, and we'll take care of the rest, and you'll get a check at the end of the year.
Let's talk about Wyoming Downs itself, because Wyoming Downs is, I don't know, what is it, like 10 miles outside of
10 miles outside of town.
The Evanston proper.
Takes 15 minutes.
It's a lot of people think, well, it's it's like forever to get there, but it's a quick drive. Scenic is like you're going to Wood Bear Lake, and there's Wyoming Downs. So here's the ideal, Wyatt. Now you're gonna have to talk to your bosses about this and the owners, but there needs to be a facility that could be utilized more year round, where it's indoor, where you could have and jackpots, like team ropings. Team ropers are crazy. They'll spend all their paycheck every weekend if they can. Barrel racing, they're the same. They're probably worse. Motocross, and then you can do concerts. You could have a hotel. I'm envisioning big things if there's the right people that have the cash flow or can get the financing. You could have a hotel, swimming pool for the kids to play. So they either stop there and stay for the weekend for the racing, or they're stopped there if the racing's not going on. They can still gamble. They can still do whatever event's going on. I mean, do you see that there's other opportunities? Are you guys looking at that big picture?
Yeah, the ownership that I work for, they're great owners, and they've recognized that we own something special out there in Bear River. We have 200 acres. Obviously, we use it for horse racing for 3 months out of the year, but there's a lot more opportunity to do stuff with this property that we own. And that's been an ongoing, there's nothing cemented, finalized, but that ball has been started of what else can we do out here? Because we own the property, we might as well take advantage of, it's hard to come by 200 acres nowadays.
Right.
Yeah.
Very hard.
I think people would love to go up there. Like I have a couple of my good buddies from high school. Their parents take their campers up and stay right in the parking lot at Wyoming Downs.
Yeah.
Then they go to the races and they're hammered all weekend. But I think that would be really cool for those people that don't have a camper. You can go up and stay in a hotel and enjoy the amenities, or go roping. So
we're talking to you, Brady. So just in case you hear this,
Brady and Kip, they're great people.
Yeah. It's a cool property. We've had some people reach out about wanting to do in the wintertime when there's really nothing that's wanting to do like snow cross out there. And it's, as long as you don't ruin the surface, we can talk. That surface is sacred.
Yeah. Oh, people want to do something, you cooped up all winter long, but it's just, it could become, I think it's like one of those Field of Dreams. You build it and they will come. They will show up. You guys could have an event planner and you could host in some of these big facilities around the state of Utah. They're booked out every weekend with some kind of event and hundreds of people showing up. So,
I don't know if we remodeled the Wyoming Downs. Did you guys know that?
I heard that, but I haven't seen it.
Right now, it's
new barns.
We built 5 new barns. We got 200 more stalls. So the barn area has changed a little bit, but the grandstand itself, we spent close to $1 million remodeling the inside of that.
What big changes occurred?
We ripped out everything.
Really?
Okay.
Part of my story, Grandpa was the general manager of Wyoming Downs when I was 13. And my very first job, I guess technically my very first job I ever had, I was 12. And I ran papers for Blaine at his horse sale.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it might have been cash on the table. I might have made $20, $40. But as a 12-year-old, I was like, that's pretty good. So 13, I was a busboy in Clocker's Corner. It's a reserve table steering. So I was technically my very first ever paid job was a busboy at Wyoming Downs. So now, 13 or more than 13 years later, almost like 20 years later. It's the exact same Clocker's Corner as when I was 13. So we recognize we get great crowds, and we've been giving them the same offerings, and before I was there, I bet it was the exact same too. So maybe this grandstands is from 1984. That's what they had. So we've ripped everything out, remodeled the whole thing, paint, carpet, or no, there's carpet in the reserve seating. It's like that Astros turf stuff.
Yeah.
But new floors, new paint, new murals, granite countertops.
Nice.
Remember how the bathrooms were a little sketchy?
They were sketchy. I was scared to go in there.
You don't want to go in there. We tiled all the bathrooms. They're beautiful. The same thing too, though, is, a lot of people, they come to Wyoming Downs and love it, but it's older. So I personally believe having this all cleaned up, you're going to love the races. I don't think I've ever invited someone to the races and maybe they just don't want to tell me, but I think people generally like it. It's pretty fun. Yeah. So now with a cleaner facility, I think people are more likely to come into the races 2 or 3 times instead of just once a year. That's because the facility's cleaner.
Yeah. How many boxes do you have? Do you call them boxes or suites or what?
We have 60 of them now.
Really?
We increased it by 40.
And they're 4 or 8?
The new one. So we built a whole new section that overlooks the paddock.
Okay.
It's called the Paddock Lounge.
Oh.
Nice.
And they're orientated different. So in Clocker's Corner, I guess if the camera, you know how you don't sit with your body facing the surface, the track. You kind of got to do this to watch a race. So Paddock Lounge, we set it up to where you set a table, you're looking directly over the track. I think it'll be more comfortable. But those tables hold 6 people versus Clocker's Corners are older, and so they're a little bit smaller. They hold 4 per table.
These new ones, are they open air or is that covered?
Still, they're covered. There's a roof over you.
Okay.
But Clocker's Corner has that big old panel of windows running down the side of the grandstands. Paddock Lounge does not. So you can, from your table, though, you can watch the horses get saddled and be in the saddling paddock before they go on the track. And
have you got the rate set for those tables?
We do.
What is it?
They are $50 a seat. So it's $300 for a table of 6. And we opened ticketing on May 5th. And I should follow up with the marketing guy now again to see how much have sold. But we did, in the first 90 minutes, we had $2,000 in sales in the reserve seating. So
nice.
Cool.
People, they're going for it. It used to be free seating right there, but those bleachers are gone. And now it's we just saw it as this is one of the best seats we have to offer. We should capitalize on getting people to come. And
absolutely.
But I guess if you're listening to this, you want to come to Wyoming Downs, the best seat in the house is on the rail. Yeah. And it's the price of a general admission ticket. Yeah. Get right up there. A lot of times, for listeners, if you have kids, don't be afraid to talk to our outriders. They'll let the kids pet the horse. And the day at the races isn't just for adults. Kids can have a great time there interacting because the jockeys, they want to be interacted with, the ponies, the outriders, all the officials. All of us are here to build racing, and you know, there's not a dumb question, and we want to involve you because it's fun.
Right on the rail, you can feel in your bones those horses as they pass by. It's a cool feeling.
Yeah. The very first time I went to Ruidoso, I wanted to sit in the tunnel so I waited for a race to go, and me and Dad rushed down there because I wanted to hear them go over the top of me.
Your head. Yeah,
that's cool.
It was fun. I really liked it.
Yeah. That and then the starting gate, and they still do this at Santa Anita and sometimes at Del Mar, but they have a little horse-drawn carriage. So if you're a VIP or know somebody, they'll take you in the carriage and take you to the starting gate, and you can stand right there off to the side of the gate. So if you haven't ever experienced a race at the break, that's also pretty heart-pounding.
Yeah, and that was something that I'm getting a little off topic, but at the racing symposium, a question was posed of what can track operators do that is going to give someone a different experience that we might think is normal, but to the average person coming to track would be phenomenal. And that the starting gate is a really powerful place to be at the start of racing. So last year we have taken some guests to the starting gate, and our starter and gate crew, they're awesome. But it's a whole new experience that, we just want people to care about the sport as much as us.
Right.
And keep coming back because it's.
No, it's exactly right. And if you had this opportunity when you have all these fans there and in the summertime, like camping, like Cade mentioned earlier, they're hanging out there. What can they do all day? Well, hey, the Clocker's Corner, come up and have a coffee and watch the horses work out. Get involved, whether it's you have a place for them to grab some breakfast. I mean, a way for them to make you as the operator to make some additional money, or to just bring some additional fans in. That's a fun thing to do, to sit and watch the horses work out in the morning. It's just peaceful, and there's not as much crowd.
Yeah, so the construction's still ongoing and training open. So we said, hey, you got to be quiet. No one on the grandstands, in the apron until after 10:30. But every single one of those contractors said, wow, that was amazing. Watching the horses work. And it's something that people don't realize that it's completely free. We'll welcome you in, come watch them. And if you're a hardcore handicapper, it's an even better place to be. Yeah. See what your horse looks like.
They pay close attention to all those horses working.
I guess I wanted to shift gears a tiny bit, talking a lot about the business side of things, but we wouldn't be talking about that if it weren't for the actual horse. I know for me, I didn't really get involved until I was a late teenager. He was growing, Peterson welt, and he wasn't involved. So I remember he took me to a sale It was when COVID shut down the Ruidoso sale.
Mm-hmm.
So it was in Oklahoma. It was my first sale I'd ever been to. And something like the smell, being there, just flipping through the pages of the sale book, it made me fall in love with it immediately. I wanted to know every stallion. I wanted to know, how the breeding worked. But what about for you? Why do you think people fall in love with the horse, or maybe share when you did?
I think people fall in love with their therapeutic animal. I think the Kentucky Derby commercial, they had a great ad about how man has always had this connection, and now with vehicles that we don't use them as much because we have cars, but the connection's still there. Mm-hmm. And I think that, especially on my side, it's hard to be around horses and not feel some type of peace. Mm-hmm. I think maybe that's just the stress, and I'll go down to Drew Hall's barn at the end of the day, and just being around those horses, it makes the stress goes away for a little bit. And
sometimes they don't know what it's like until they experience it themselves.
Exactly.
To be around the horse. So that's another fan appreciation type event where maybe they can go out there after a track close, or get a trainer who is willing to take them on a tour and just.
Yeah, and same thing like we do with the legislators that come out. We'll take them to someone's barn, and we always choose a barn that has really good cleanliness because they're great. You're looking for an ambassador of the sport when you take someone to their barn. Drew Hall's one of those type of guys that you can come, you can talk to anybody. Mike Scudder has an amazing barn, and there's several more, but off the top.
Yeah. I know Joe is really clean. I mean, I'm experienced with him too, and those guys you mentioned.
Yeah, and Joe has a great barn too, and Joe's another great person that it would be a good ambassador because he can talk and has all kinds of amazing the stories you can hear back there. Yeah. So not only are the horses fun, but once you meet all the characters back there too,
a lot of characters on the backside. Yeah. A lot goes on the backside, Wyatt, as you probably know. But it's like its own little world.
Yeah, Lynn. When I interned at La Salle in 2017, and Lynn, I don't even remember the race Lynn won, but I was out there all alone. I lived with John Cooper, and Lynn Milton won a race, and he made sure to come and invite me, and we went to a barbecue, and that was a ton of fun too. And there's those type of guys that I feel like every racetrack has several men that are going to take care of people and make sure that you have a good time and leave feeling better than when you came.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's just so important to have people that are ahead of you in their careers or their time or whatever, their experience, that are nurturing the next generation along, because I know that's what's going to take. A lot of the folks that either they get too old, they pass away, and you hope that their children or grandchildren will come along and be involved, but oftentimes they don't, because they've never really found that love for it. And that's the thing, is we have to kind of breed it in. And I think Cade, we're fortunate that he found that bug. My daughters, not so much. They watch in passing, but they don't have a real clue of what's going on in the industry.
Trying to get them involved. We started a little fantasy horse racing deal.
Oh, nice.
We assigned everybody a horse. They got to pick from a hat, and we tell them, "Hey, your horse won." They don't even know, but
right.
Anyway,
yeah.
Speaking of ownership of horses, it's not cheap, to own a racehorse. What do you think? Do you think it's getting more accessible for people to own a horse, or like a $2 better at the track?
Yeah.
And they want to transition to become an owner. How do you think they can do that without killing themselves financially?
That's Garrett Hadley and Tori Hadley are two of the trainers up there. They live over here in Corinne, Utah. There was a guy at Wyoming Downs, fell in love with horse racing, got a hold of Tori Hadley, the trainer, and they have syndicates, or these, you can buy shares. So this guy went from exactly what you're describing, a $2 better. And I do think it's becoming more affordable, because I think it's becoming more and more common to have multiple partners in one horse. And I think that makes it a lot of fun too, because now you've got 5 to 10 buddies in on one horse, and now every time your horse has an out, it's an excuse to go out with all your buddies to the races and go in the backside, and it gets people into ownership. And then as they do well, maybe that group buys another, or you want to go out on your own. So I do think it's becoming more affordable, just because I think it's becoming more common for people to own shares of a horse versus having to take on the entire horse yourself.
Great point. And that's happening nationally. And there's actually been some very high profile syndicated horses, even in the Kentucky Derby. There was the horse that the school teachers owned, and they drove into the Kentucky Derby on a school bus.
Oh,
I mean, they each put in like $10,000. These things are so cool because the bond that you create in the experience. There's a horse many years ago, in the quarter horse industry, named Old Habits. And Dusty Stimpson, you probably remember from this area. He grew up right here in Utah. Tragically, his life ended. Unfortunately, him and his fiancee Jody, both were tragically killed in a car accident. So condolences. But he rode that horse to the All-American Derby win, and it was a group of women that owned him. They called themselves the Girls. There's maybe 10 or 12. I apologize if that was maybe more or less, but it's the same idea.
Yeah, at the end of the day, owners who keep this business afloat.
Absolutely. And a lot of times it's the small owners. Now, those big ones that have 10, 20 horses sometimes in their stable, but they have to start somewhere. If they don't start somewhere, they don't ever get to that level. What about challenges? Let's go into this stuff that's facing the industry. This is the stuff that no one likes to talk about, but it's unfortunately a part of horse racing, and it's becoming a big black eye in a lot of these states and jurisdictions, and commissions are now being heavily looked upon for answers. The stewards have their hands full, stewards of every racetrack. The labs, the testing facilities, everybody is like, the pressure is on them because it's pretty well known that there's a lot of folks out there who are doing things illegally, essentially doping their horses and getting an advantage against the other competitors, and they're not able to catch them in the act. They're not able to find the substance because the tests haven't caught up with the substance. And that's been going on since before I was riding. I mean, probably forever in a lot of cases in some way. Everybody's looking for an advantage. And so I'm curious, I know this is a topic that you probably have to deal with on a regular basis, maybe a daily basis, on dealing with horsemen and what you're going to do and how are you going to enforce the law and how are you going to keep things fair. What do you say to that?
Yeah, at Wyoming Downs, clean test is the standard. There's no gray area here. You either run clean or you need to be disqualified and taken down, and action needs to be taken. Either if it doesn't come from the commission, it needs to come from us, management of the track, because it's something that we're not going to tolerate at Wyoming Downs. If you get caught cheating, there's not an excuse. At the end of the day, it's always trainer responsibility. If it's something that is an accident, I'm quoting my fingers in the air, it's still your job as the trainer to know what you can and can't do as far as medication. There are certain players in the game, like you said, there's horses that we don't know we know they're using something. Because horses do not run to the end of a finish line and can't make it back to a winner's circle. That's not,
without some kind
that's
of
not natural.
Yeah, right.
That's on our radar. To someone that thinks they could come to Wyoming and cheat and take our purse money, that will not happen. There's too many hardworking men and women in this business for us as an operator to allow someone to get cheated. And it hurts the public too. Who wants to come watch something that's fixed or cheating? But same thing too. We got to protect the men and women that make it possible for us to operate a business too.
It's refreshing to hear because we've always, the last several years, we can run to Wyoming at least, and we know we'll have a fair shot. So with the great track that Wyoming Downs is on, and Wyoming, the state in general, it's going to bring more owners, and more owners are coming. You just mentioned from Oklahoma, Texas, but it's going to be interesting to see, how it plays out with those owners, and maybe some tough decisions will have to be made on your end. But
I'm sure there's some. They're not tough. It's just we live in a time where people love to sue. So would be frank about those Oklahoma horses that want to come. It's discussion we'll have internally still about whether we allow them to compete here. My my opinion is Wyatt is no. Don't bring those horses because they're not allowed in several different jurisdictions. I don't want to be the one guy that says, "Oh, you haven't been caught here yet," and I'm the one dumbass that.
Well, that's always their answer is we haven't been caught. But like you said, there's different definitions of being caught.
Yeah.
Because it's maybe not showing up in your blood test or your hair test or whatever. But again, your chemist is figuring out how to beat that. Or when you're giving this stuff and it's not showing.
Well, and personally from being a champion rider, you've rode some of the best horses in the world. They all got their winner take. They made it back to the winner's circle.
Yeah. I never had one that couldn't make it back. I watched some of those races at Remington Park, and I was mortified on what they were having to do to get these poor animals back to be unsaddled and then essentially pushing them out of the winner's circle.
Yeah.
One guy trying to drag them, one guy trying to push them.
Drenching them in water, sponge bath, anything they
alcohol bath, try to wake them back up.
And that's, Dad always shared stories about Refrigerator, that trials was his worst enemy because you couldn't slow him down. He was just a freight train out of the gates and, he was going to go. And that horse, knowing that in finals, obviously Dad's just going to let him fly down the track. And it was a horse that put his all out. He made it back to the winner's circle just fine.
Yeah.
And he ran his guts out.
And leaving everything out there.
Yeah.
Still able to, under his own power.
Yeah. And just because, like you're saying, because you're not a blood test or we don't have chemistry proof that there's something inside that system, we're all horsemen enough to know that that's not natural. Mm-hmm. And how that happens with legally, I don't know, but as Wyatt Didericksen's opinion, we don't want that here.
Yeah.
Good to hear, honestly. These larger purses are creating more awareness. There's more people looking this way. More people want to come over here and race. And we know that some of those folks happen to be folks that are in question. So it's one of those a lot of people are thinking about and worried about. And I know everyone's trying to get their own little advantage, but end of the day, it's about the horse.
Yeah.
Taking good care of the horse. I mean, I think most people who are in this industry want that.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are a few that only thinking about the accolades. That's unfortunate. But trying to clean it up, I think that's going to be a constant battle. We have to find ways to, whether the commissions are getting a little bit more involved in the conversation, how we're going about doing that could be up for debate, because the testing, for some reason, we can't seem to come up with, we can't get ahead of them. We can't get ahead of them. That's the black and white test. Yeah. But we can't find it. So what about somebody thinking about attending racing for the very first time? And we talked about this a bit, but why should they do it? We just talked about all the great things and some of these things that are challenges. But if you were talking to a group of young adults and they wanted to think about or maybe they're retirees and they think, hey, well, I want something to do. Why should they think about horse racing?
Well, to someone, if we just went downtown Ogden right here and we're inviting people to the street, it's Wyoming Downs. We, just for listeners, if you want to come this season, we start June 5th. We have a couple Thursdays, Fridays and Thursdays start at 3, Sundays, Saturdays start at 1. It's $20 admission. You get a program, and then we give you $5 back and a ticket to play. So your first bet's on us.
Oh, cool.
But the primary reason to come, I wouldn't say, is to, for the first timers, obviously I will promote, you can make a little bit of money, you can have some fun playing the horses. But the environment, there's nothing like it. You get to feel the horses coming down. I've always said if we can be the best bar in town, that's one other reason to come. Our concession prices are they're actually super affordable comparative to other places. And our drink prices are also very affordable too. And they're not getting gouged like a typical sporting event. Mm. But you come to it, I've tried to remind people of this too, is horse racing is a sport. As it kind of lost some of its valor over the years. Yeah. But we're trying to bring that back. This is a sport, elite athletes, elite riders, some of the best trainers. Yeah. It's a way to get close in an industry before it, hopefully takes off again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the sell I have to people is, come and be a part of something that's going to start growing again. And where else can you, if I wanted to get LeBron James autograph, it's going to cost you Lakers courtside ticket cost $3,000 if they're playing
Probably
the Jazz.
minimum.
At least.
If they got the Jazz at home.
Oh, the Jazz will bring the prices way down.
Yeah. But still, courtside ticket, but where else, can you go get, we had Luis Valenzuela riding up here last year. Really, really world-class jockey. I get along with him really well. Where else can you, in sports, can you go and just talk to this guy and have a conversation as he's on his way back to the room? Most sports, that's not ever going to happen. But racing, you can make real connections with the players, and it doesn't cost you the price of admission.
I think one problem that's, holding people back from getting more involved with racing is, I even heard my sister say this the other day, and she's a part of a racing family. She said, I just worry that the horse doesn't like it and that it's being hurt when it's running. What would you say to that? That these animals love what they do.
Yeah, those are the people we need to invite onto the backside, because trainers know when the horse doesn't want, and the guys that aren't chasing accolades, if a horse doesn't like running, they find out within the first 2 starts, and that horse gets sent off to a new career to where, if it doesn't like running, odds are it's not winning. But the backside, when you see the care these get and how much love and affection truly goes to each horse, and even the guys with bigger barns, they can tell you every single horse's name, their personality, how you got to get on them. They're way more well known than I think the public realizes.
They're not just some machine or like a bicycle that you go get on.
No, there's deep relationships with each horse on the backside, and that's what those tours and stuff can really help people understand. Is these are well taken care of animals that everyone has. Eugene loves to say, built on hope, and there's a lot of hope put into each one of these horses that they're going to be the carrier of the barn, winning the big races.
They're pampered. If I had to choose to come back as an animal, if that was the choice, it would be a horse. It would be most likely a very high-profile thoroughbred stallion, but it would be a horse.
You'd be a low-end stallion.
All right, let's go on to the rapid fire and talk about what Wyatt's got going on in his life. And real quick answers here.
Okay.
Just whatever comes to mind first. And, I know that you didn't have much experience with your dad's riding career, but you probably heard a lot about it and seen videos, whatnot. What's your favorite horse?
Corona Chick.
Corona Chick. I think that was what your dad said as well.
He's got mostly, there's so many stories about Corona Chick because it's his favorite as well. So I've heard the most about her.
Mm-hmm. Even with all the big ones he rode, Refrigerator included, Corona Chick just had such an impact. And for a small filly, she was always, I thought, one of the smallest stature in the field, but so fast, so fluid, and just destroyed pretty much every field she was in, boys, girls, whatever. And then had the impact on the industry she's had through her offspring, which Corona Cartel and on and on and on. So, yeah. What a great mare.
Watching Dad's races, the race I've watched the most is Ed Grimley running second. He watches that video a lot.
Does he?
A lot. And a healthy amount.
He's just beating himself up for running second.
Yeah, 30 years later, I can't believe I got second.
How about the race with, wasn't it Griswold who ran against the thoroughbred? That was high profile back then.
We've watched that one a lot, and that one's fun to watch him because he still believes he was on the better horse. I don't know if he talked about it on his show, but he knows the moment where there was a mistake made and he got beat. I think he drew the 2, and he wanted to be the inside. That way he could get up there and
just hold the line and push her out a little bit.
Yeah,
him out. That horse was a great horse too. I idolized your dad. When I started out, he was already a big deal, and I just remember him being a person I wanted to be like him. I wanted to ride like him. I watched him. Pretty much every night. Los Alamitos had the races at night back then, and you could watch the weeknight programs with John Petty.
Yeah.
You know, he's kind of the marketing guy, the announcer, and
I sold tip sheets for him at LeBois Park.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Good guy. Great. John, if you're listening, hello. But I'd watch your dad pretty much every time because I wanted to see how he was handling everything, like how he'd sit on a horse, how he'd warm a horse up, how he'd get out of the gate. And he had that patented, you know, he's throwing the reins at him and getting his cross. And, you know, I just felt like he looked better than most everybody else on the horse. Just had that natural ability about him. What's your favorite thing to do outside of racing?
Hunt.
Oh, gosh, should have known.
What's your favorite thing to hunt?
Chuckers.
Checkers.
Yeah, that's so I wanted to be like Grandpa, be a GM, but I got all my competitiveness from my dad. So the best thing about bird hunting is, you know, it's not one and done. Chucker, you can shoot 8 of them, and it's amazing when I get ahead of my dad in the bird count, what he'll start shooting at.
Shoot it into bald eagle flying around.
Eagles.
He's gonna deny this, but I know I was ahead. I was up a lot. I think the limit's 8, and I was at 7. And then when we tie, it's who got there first. You know, who got their 8 birds first? Because if you limit out, but you did it after that guy, you suck. Mm-hmm. So yeah. And I was always raised, you can't shoot it off the ground. You gotta wait till it flies. And then one day I remember I was ahead of Dad 7, and he had 3 maybe. And I could see him, and I know those birds hadn't flown yet. I hear boom, just ground sluicing them.
Wow.
He'll deny it, but at least it's on the record now.
On the record. Well, you have a dog then that you hunt with?
I don't. I have a black lab. She does whatever I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
She's not a very good hunting dog, but Dad has a lights out hunting dog. If she'll hunt with me.
What breed?
Sure. She's a English pointer.
Okay.
She's he got her out of I think over here in Vernal, Utah.
Nice.
From a breeder.
Do you go to farms, the bird farms, or do you just go out in the?
We don't ever do bird farms.
Wild.
The chuckers are always wild. Once a year we go hunting with Lance Ayres and Jake Barton down in Globe area and go on a quail hunt. And that's always Lance has some pretty good bird dogs. He has Brittany's. And that's always a ton of fun too.
Cool.
But what's your favorite big game hunt to do?
I like hunting mule deer.
Mule deer.
Yeah, elk taste a lot better.
Yeah.
But I guess it's like I have a hard time, maybe it's because I'm not an avid elk hunter, differentiating the massive bulls from, you know, a good bull, but those muleys, it's a nice buck's a nice, and they get you. I still get jitters when I see the big bucks.
You watch sports at all? You have a favorite sports team?
I do watch basketball. I watch the Lakers. So with Dad being at La Salle, he was a Laker fan, so I became a Laker fan. Kobe Bryant was my guy.
Do you still watch boxing growing up with that?
No, I mean, I didn't watch the fight, or the UFC fight. What was it, 2 nights ago?
Yeah.
I guess I'm glad I missed it. It was short. No, if boxing's on, like the pay-per-view, I'll still watch those. But
fight night was the big thing at Blaine's, and even Shirley. You know, it was a big deal. It was big dinner. I remember your grandpa being there multiple. I would get invited over there. It was a privilege to be invited to Blaine Schwanevelt for fight night.
Yeah,
you know, he was super into that deal. So I remember when you said that about Grandpa Dwayne.
Friday night fights.
Yeah,
it was always on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to wait for the fighting to end before we could turn on Cartoon Network. Yeah.
What's your favorite food?
Steak. Maybe, steak.
Yeah.
I've been out of Idaho long enough now. I used to always just say potatoes.
Your dad's the one that taught me early in my career to cut out the carbs. No bread. You know, if you want to keep your weight down, you know, because he was always tall. He was taller than me, or is. But he was able to maintain his weight. And then even after we retired, and I think he jumped up to 130, 135. I don't know what it was. But he was able to get back down. A lot of you listening don't understand this, but jockeys have to maintain a pretty dang strict weight regimen. And when I was riding, and when Kip, your dad, was riding, you know, 120 was the weight typically on 2-year-olds. Nowadays, they've stretched this up to 124. You know, sometimes they'll even go to 125 certain tracks. But back then, so if you want to tack 120, you've got to weigh 116 roughly without any, stripped.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy thing to do. With me riding thoroughbreds, I wanted to tack 116, so I had to weigh 112 stripped. And there got to be a point in time where it was not easy to do. And he said, stop eating bread. So he'd order a hamburger. I remember watching him come in. He flew in for some races at Laurel Brown back then for some trials, full day of trials. Back then in Utah was hopping. I mean, racing was big in Utah. And he ordered a hamburger for somebody like midway through the day. And he just takes it, throws away the bun, and eats the meat, eats the burger. Like, what are you doing, And you can't eat bread if you want to keep your weight down. So from then on, I got it. I figured that out. But that's called, later the Atkins diet, and all these people throw the carbs out.
Yeah.
If you want to lose weight, and all these people now have to do it with the shot. Come on.
Just cut the bread.
Yeah.
Two more here. Two more questions. And then let's see. Favorite musician?
Tabernacle Choir.
Okay.
My fiance and I, Thursdays you can go down to Temple Square and they practice it. In the winter it was 6. I think maybe it's 7 now since the sun's up later. But it's free. So
wow, that's the first I've ever had somebody say the choir.
I bet.
Is the favorite musician. Okay.
We listen to that a lot. And I think more of, especially as I've gotten further and deeper into the management thing, is the, I guess, religious. I grew up, I'm LDS, so grew up with that, but it blocks out a ton of, it's just a stress reliever.
Stress, right. I was going to say, just get you away from all the stress and anxiety.
The last thing I want to do when I listen to music now is get amped up.
Oh, yeah. I'm the same way.
Yeah, for sure.
Easygoing country for me, but
yeah.
What about your career if you weren't in the horse racing industry? What would you be doing?
Oh man, hopefully a welder.
Yeah, are you a good welder?
No, but
but you want to be.
Yeah, I think that'd be a fun job.
Yeah,
I'd like to weld.
Really?
If I didn't do racing, I had no plans of going to college. Did not think that was for me. Dad didn't go. Grandpa didn't go. Mom, I didn't have no one in my family did college, so it wasn't a plan. And I ran track just kind of to hang out with friends. And then one day, this kid named Nick Hampton got a track scholarship, and I thought, no way. There's no way they give you money to run. Like it's not that cool. But you got a track scholarship. You go to College of Idaho, and you got a school paid for. And so then I had a thought. I was like, I think I can be better than what this guy is. And so I was like, that's my only shot. And it was more of like a backup plan. Like if I didn't have didn't know, I could go to college. So then I put all my energy into running, and I broke all the school records and got a scholarship to run. That's the only reason I went to college.
I didn't know that about you, Wyatt. I didn't know you were
cool.
running.
Yeah.
And you still like to run?
Oh, no. Running was always just a way to get school paid for. And then when I'm competitive enough when I'm racing, I want to win, and I'll do whatever it takes to win. But you run like 70, 80 mile weeks, and runners that might be listening, that's not that high mileage per week, but it's a long time to just be out there running.
Mm-hmm. Pay for college, move on.
Yeah.
You've moved into a great career. And it looks like you're setting some high marks. People that want to get into this industry, maybe what would you tell them to do if they're thinking about a career in horse racing industry?
If you're thinking about getting a career, I started as a busboy. I took any job I could get out of college. With a master's degree, I essentially if you look at the program at Sweetwater Downs, I was listed as an intern. So I just take whatever you can get, because they're hard to come by now with fewer tracks, but take what you can get and put your shoulder to the wheel and grind, because there's nothing more valuable in this industry than someone that's willing to, work hard and listen.
Did you go to that racetrack industry program in Arizona?
I did not.
No. And I'm not saying it's required, but you're living proof. You learned it, coming up through it, learned every aspect of horse racing. Rose up to the general manager of a major racetrack.
Yeah, and I guess just a point to touch on Wyoming Downs. A lot of our key officials are they're younger than me, so there is a lot of younger people that care about this sport, which I think is a great sign. We have a new race caller. His name's Liam Molinaro. He's 21.
Really?
Oh, geez.
New this year?
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
he guest calls at Gulfstream quite frequently, and then he did Sam Houston and a few other major tracks. But he's a talented kid. I don't know how long Wyoming Downs will be able to keep him.
Well, I hope you can keep him because we're excited about that.
Yeah, he's a great kid. His brother is named Aiden Molinaro. He's 24. We use a system called Stride Safe, which helps us monitor the horse's strides, obviously, but it is a pretty good indicator if there's going to be a breakdown. So you get to like a level 3, means we're going to send a vet and someone to just make sure their horse is okay. Because we're getting something's off the stride. It gives you, and we have all this data from back east where they use it in Kentucky to give us pretty good indicators if a horse is at risk of breaking down. So he manages that whole system for us. And then he also, will do any of our on-air personality. Great kid. He's 24. Myra Visciarelli, 22, assistant racing secretary. Francis Bolchild, he's our starter. Do you know Drag? So Drag's up in Gillette. So we have Francis Bolchild running our gate. He's doing an excellent job. And the other guy is Quentin Johnson. He's 21 and he's our outrider.
Damn.
So I mean, we've got a lot of, and
guys.
I think it's living proof though that young people do care about this sport, and the more young people we can get into this, we got a chance to hold on.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as getting a job, anyone can do it. You
just have to want to
work hard.
Yeah, and take what you can get at first, because obviously general manager jobs don't just open up, and same with racing secretary jobs. You want to be a racing secretary, go work in an office for a guy like Sean Windsor, learn the ropes, learn how to interact and build those relationships with trainers, and it'll take you a couple years, but they're valuable years. You'll learn a lot.
Well, that's for the young group out there listening who may be thinking about a career path. And then we've also touched on if you want to get involved in the industry from an ownership standpoint, there's ways to do it as a single owner, own your own horse outright, or own in a partnership, which I would highly recommend. Get a group of buddies together, and you're talking over a course of one horse over a course of a month, you might have a $2,000 total bill, based on training, vet, et cetera, some hauling. But if you had 5 buddies on that, you think about $400 or $500 a piece. It's manageable, and it'll be the most fun you've ever had. So anyway, I hope you guys find a path. If you're listening to this, we talk a lot about horse racing in here, but as it relates to careers and success. And so I think Wyatt embodies a lot of that. Success came about the hard way, wasn't handed anything. Grew up working as a busboy, learned a lot of things, and decided he wanted to make the most of this industry. And now he's having a big impact on what's going on here locally. So thanks for joining us today, Wyatt. We appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here and represent the Downs.
Good luck with the season this year at Wyoming. We're going to be up there a lot. Probably be calling you to get a couple of discounts on some of those boxes.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's a lot that's going to happen at Wyoming Downs. Look forward to that season. If you haven't ever experienced Wyoming Downs, get up there and check it out. Take a group of friends and go see what racing's all about. Until next time, thanks for joining us for Harnessing Your Wealth. Like and enjoy the show. Subscribe so you can watch every show as it comes out. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening. For more information about today's show, please check out the show notes. Visit our website at www.petersonws.com or give us a call at 801-475-4002. Peterson Wealth Services is a registered investment advisor. This is a paid-for advertisement. Information presented on this program is believed to be factual and up-to-date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. Discussions and answers to questions do not involve the rendering of a personalized investment advice, but are limited to the dissemination of general information. A professional advisor should be consulted before implementing any of the options presented. Peterson Wealth Services.